So today we're going to talk about the realism and liberalism as an international relations concept. So the difference between these two concepts is especially how they explain conflicts, cooperation, and global stability. I also look at whether these theories are still useful for understanding today's global challenges, or like climate change and cybersecurity. So Let me start with the realism. Realists see the international system as anarchic structure, meaning like there's no authority above states. Because of this, states have to rely on themselves to survive. Realism is based on a rather pessimistic view of human nature. The idea is that people, or that of a state, are mainly self-interested and driven by power and security. From this perspective, conflicts is not as an expectation, but something almost unavoidable. It's irreversible consequence from the politics. States are constantly worried about their own security, and even actions meant to be defensive, such as increasing military power, could lead us to the, as it's called, security dilemma. Like it could be seen as a threat by others. This leads that, as I said, called like security dilemma. Comparison can be happen. Cooperation as well could be happen. Yeah, it's also like the things that could be, but it's usually limited and temporary. States are careful because they focus on relative gains. They don't just ask like, do we benefit, but also who benefits more. For them, it's important to be in more benefits in more benefit state rather than their opponent or partner. I don't know. Okay, but simultaneously, liberalism looks at international relations in a very completely different way. Liberals have a more optimistic view of both human nature and state behavior. They agree absolutely that the system is anarchic, like the absence of higher authority automatically. But no, it's the main point that yeah, they believe that the system is anarchy, but they don't believe that the absence of higher authority automatically leads us to conflicts. This is absolutely untrue for them because they also think that they emphasize cooperation. They argue that international institutions, I don't know, economic interdependence are shared and shared rules can make cooperation possible and even stable over time. Liberals also point out that democracies rarely go to war, to war, which is known as a democratic piece of theory. But anyway, yeah, it was true absolutely because if it even if it looked to the past century, war usually was between two different regimes, two different ideologies, not in the same, not like same ones. But anyway, there was also like communist conflicts, like between, for example, between Vietnam and the China Communist Party. And but if we talk about democracy, they were barely seen. Mostly there weren't any global like major conflicts between democracy states. But now we can look to another point in our time that democracy country is not absolutely mean that it's a peaceful country. For example, there was also could be totalitarian democracy that we can see. Yeah, it sounds very stupid, but anyway, that we can see in the USA. But when the country has some sort of totalitarian aspects of the reign. But anyway, another important difference is how each theory understands power. How each theory understands power. For example, for realists, war power mainly means military strength, but for liberals, power is quite broader. It includes economic influence, political institutions, and absolutely soft power as a hard power as well, just such as like values and norms. Because of this, liberals believes believe states often focus on absolute gains. It's meaning that as long as everyone benefits, cooperation makes sense. It can be like straightforward benefit for only one participators, but it should be bilateral. It should be to for all of the participators, not just for only one. It should be equal. Okay, and for mine, the last point will be about global stability. Realists argue that stability is achieved through a balance of power and deterrence, like strong states and military capabilities help prevent aggression. But liberals, in other hand, believe stability comes from cooperation, international law, and a strong institutions that encourage predictable behavior. So in some way, they believe like if everyone should will be cooperate, we will get as global stability because we will be dependent to each other. This difference become very clean when we look to the model global changes, like climate change, for example. From a realist point of view, states are likely to prioritize prioritize their own economic interests and avoid commitments that like limit their sovereignty. This helps explain why climate agreements mm, like are often difficult to enforce because nobody like anybody cares only about their own good, not like about some global, you know. But for liberal perspective, as I said, very important to have common challenges because if we will have common like problem, it will be shared problem for all of us, and we're going to share it to solve it also together, and that makes us cooperative, and cooperative means global stability. So actually, that's all. Thank you.